Okay, I'm doing this right after because I do want to talk about two different points, and I'm kind of in a spot where, yeah, anyways, the first thing that I want to say is that I think that atheists and people that have different worldviews, okay, let's take a circle, right? And there's different worldviews. We have Christians here, we have Muslims here, Buddhists, and then like a couple other religions, and atheists right here. All of this group all target this group for some reason. You know what I mean? Not necessarily. I mean, I guess they all kind of hate each other, right? Like Muslims hate Christians, Christians hate Muslims. They're both like borderline like racist and discriminatory to each other, at least for the most part. I know some people aren't, but and then an atheist has two different paths because well, not an atheist. I guess I should say an agnostic atheist, or I'll just say agnostic from now on. But an agnostic, right? Just says, I don't know, but you guys don't know either. You know what I mean? So it's kind of in a position where I don't know. I don't know. I think that an agnostic worldview with the world that we find ourselves in is impenetrable because if you claim to take that leap of faith from so little human knowledge that we you have to justify the means somehow, right? And you can't do it. You really can't. Like, it's you can't do it. So, you could do it with certain things like uh, personal experience in anyways. But in this bubble, right? There's this atheist that okay, we'll take an example of an atheist, and I think that this is why the angry atheist categorization or what's the right word stereotype is so prevalent within religion, right? Not just Christianity, but they all think that these atheists just hate God. You know, a lot of people think that they're just mad at God for the world that they find themselves in. They can't accept the truth because they're mad at God or some reason like this, right? But I think that the real reason is because there's so much oppression towards atheism because religious people took that leap, right? And I don't think that there's any atheist out there that would say I know for sure. And if there is, then they're just as dumb as okay, I shouldn't say dumb, but they're just as leap of faith, blind leap of faith, religion based is the Christian, right? Because they're saying that there's no truth value in the fact that there could be a God. I mean, first of all, the cosmological argument for God, and I'll bring this into another point, is saying that everything has to have a first cause. So there has to be something that brought us our universe into creation. And then I've heard a lot of counter arguments saying, well, what if the universe is just eternal? I mean, your God's eternal, so why couldn't the universe be? But I think that the universe probably did have a first cause. However, I don't know what it is, okay? And there's two ways of looking at the cosmological argument. And I think that the cosmological argument defeats itself in the question. And that's because if you simply say, I don't know, and you don't try to give an explanation, and then you say, but if we look at the evidence from what we know, right? The Big Bang, we travel all the way back in time to the Big Bang, and then we see and you say, I don't know why this is what it is. And if you don't accept the Big Bang theory, then I don't know, do some research. Big Bang theory is pretty objective. I mean, we see CMB radiation. I won't get into proof of the Big Bang, but maybe that's for another video. But assuming Big Bang and science don't necessarily contradict big religions like Christianity, but they kind of do at the same time because if you take a traditionalist Bible perspective, you know, it says that the sun was created before the earth. No, that's not true. And just a plethora of contradictions of reality. However, I mean, it could be metaphor. A lot of top scholars say that Genesis was metaphor, didn't actually happen. It's just because again, they take the leap and then they're trying to justify all the means of the leap, saying Genesis was a metaphor, things that the Bible says that had truth value that aren't actually true were just metaphor, stuff like that. You kind of have to do everything to justify the means. But yeah, the cosmological argument defeats itself is because if you say I don't know, but the evidence doesn't point towards your God, boom, you're done. That's all you need to say. Because if they say, well, the universe needs a cause, therefore God, okay, sure, maybe I can even concede that it was a God that created it. However, with logical contradictions such as the problem of evil, it can't be your God, you know? I mean, I guess it can with my previous video saying that the abundance of suffering is maybe evidence for a good God, however crazy that might sound. But I think that yeah, I don't know. It just kind of defeats itself on the purpose. And what I want to take this into is, I mean, maybe I'll just make this a separate video, but No, I won't. Okay, so with the arguments for God, it's very rare that you will. Actually, I will make this another video. Thank you for watching.